Hi, so what is the best polycarbonate greenhouse under $500 sold in America? Well, I'm going to try to answer that question and more about home greenhouses in this video. I'm Tom, and my wife and I have a small home nursery at our home called Mimi's Garden, and we specialize in growing angel trumpet trees and other exotics. And we have definitely needed the greenhouse space to continue to expand and to grow more and more of these plants each year for our business. And so QuicTent is a company that we've started to utilize, and we want to show you a little bit today about their new polycarbonate greenhouse, as well as give you some other tips about how to use a greenhouse. And I came across these vinyl greenhouses by QuicTent, and they're 10 by 20 hoop houses or tunnels, and they have served us extremely well for the last year or two. And as you can tell, we're just kind of getting ready and staging our pots and containers for our winter growing season. But now we're looking to build a new product from QuicTent. It's a polycarbonate greenhouse. It's a 6x8. They also make them in 6x10, 6x12, I think. But at any rate, I'm excited to open this up and see what it looks like. Let me show you. So here is how the boxes arrived. The greenhouse comes in 2 boxes. This is the polycarbonate panels in this flat box, and then the framing and the hardware is in this long box. It's kind of heavy, so use a couple of people to lift it. We're gonna move it to our work area and get started putting this together. All right, so I've emptied the big box. It was really packed well. It even has these boards in here for some protection. The parts are clearly labeled with numbers everywhere. I love that. I'm a numbers guy. I'm very organized. I do follow the directions for assembly, as some folks just put things together. But look, here are all the parts. I've laid them out on a couple of 6-foot tables just so that I don't have to bend over as much, because I'm north of 60 and we don't like to bend over as much. The quality of the materials is amazing. This is aluminum. It is solid, it is strong. I was not expecting this kind of quality. This is the silver framed version. I haven't unpacked the polycarbonate panel box yet, because those will come a little bit later in the assembly process. But we're gonna get started. Of course, in the background is my third QuicTent greenhouse. This is another 10 by 20. This is their upgraded version with the swinging doors and the upgraded cover, and some upgraded strengthening crossbars across the top. I love it a lot. With the other 2, it gives me, each one, you know, is 200 square feet of growing space. And so just between these 3, I've got 600 square feet at a fraction of the cost of this 400 square feet. So, you know, greenhouses just need to enclose an airspace that can be heated. The greenhouse doesn't keep your plants warm, but it can allow a space that can easily be heated. So that's what we do. We use propane heaters to heat our plants. But let's build this thing. We're going to build it right behind the big greenhouse, and I've got a spot laid out here, so let's get started. Okay, I've got to say that I love the assembly manual that comes with this greenhouse. For one thing, it's big. The second thing is not cheap paper, but this is thick plastic coated paper that even if you get it wet, probably you'll still be able to read it. I like that the print is large. I don't have to go get my reading glasses to put this thing together. It has the advice, recommendations. It lets you know that the polycarbonate panels can yellow over time, and that's with any polycarbonate greenhouse. Then of course it begins talking about the different panels and the labels and parts list for all the parts that are included. And then of course we're going to get eventually to step 1, connect pull 1 and 2, use the screws, and we're going to get busy on that now. Thanks. So these are the tools included for assembling your greenhouse, and you can certainly use those tools, but I would much rather use a nice 10mm wrench, and then I've got a kind of a hex, H5 hex bit that's going to make this a lot quicker. You just have to go slow with the drill, make sure you don't over torque any of the screws. Thanks. So in step 2, I actually hit my first challenge. It seems that these inserts, which join the pieces together, have very tight tolerances, and they're difficult to slide into the aluminum frame. So I suggest doing like I did and using a rubber mallet to gently give it some encouragement. Thanks. Okay, so we now have the frame on the ground. My ground's not perfectly level, and yours may not be either, so we'll hopefully see that this doesn't have too much of an effect on the assembly. Just remember also that as you assemble this section, put the taller part on the inside and the shorter part on the outside. So there's a little lip here. That's also mentioned in the owner's manual. So we are about to put on our first polycarbonate panels. As we've gotten a couple of the uprights done, we're just going exactly by the directions, and they say it's time to put in these 2 pieces. We have to remember to pull off this piece of protective film, the white film. And why is polycarbonate possibly advantageous to like a vinyl greenhouse like this? Well, it's because it's actually 2 layers with a slight bit of air between the 2 layers, and that helps in insulation. And so we'll give it a try. Let's continue putting it together. All right, well, we've got the front side of this greenhouse completed, but I can tell you that adding this top piece here and these little 3 panels here was very challenging to get these holes to line up correctly and these holes to line up correctly. So what I ended up having to do was having to loosen quite a lot of things that I had even previously assembled to kind of give me a little bit of wiggle room to get these things connected. Part of this could be because I'm not on level ground, but also it just seems like the tolerances are very tight with this assembly, which is good for keeping out cold wind out of a greenhouse, but sometimes challenging. I'm goodness, an hour or so in, hour and a half in probably, and making slow progress, so I better get on it. Yeah, I wanted to show you one thing that's a little challenging. It's these side posts that we'll be adding to the greenhouse, and to attach them to the greenhouse, you actually have to kind of slide this little nut down this channel. You'll have to turn it skinny side to get it in there, and it'll eventually lock itself as you try to tighten things to it. But it's just a little more challenging. So to connect it to the bottom here, we're actually going to put the screw and the nut through the bottom plate. But we put the nut through here. I'm sorry, the screw through here. We put the nut just a couple of turns on it, so it's very, very loose. And now we're going to take this upright, and we're going to try to slide it down onto this groove, and at the same time locking the polycarbonate panel into the side of it. Now I'm going to tighten the nut, and we're going to do something similar up top, where we have to kind of once again take the screw, put it in the groove, catch it with your other thumb, lower it down to the level of the place to attach it here. bring it through. Go ahead and get that nut on it. It won't, it won't twist within the channel, so it's going to lock up on you pretty easy. But now you've got to go outside and make sure that your polycarbonate panel is in all 4 grooves. Well, actually all 3 grooves at this point. And this one did well, so we're good to go. We can kind of crank that down a little bit more with the wrench. I tend to leave things finger tight until I get a lot of things in case I need a little bit of wiggle room. And then I can, once I get everything together, then I can tighten it all up, and it seems to assemble better that way. Alrighty, so we're coming along very nicely. We've got most of our side panels installed. We haven't necessarily tightened all the screws yet on them, but we're beginning to start on the roof panels. And once again, the tricky part is, having the screw inside this groove. We actually put the screw in this hole first, and then we slide this entire rod over the top of the screw head. And this also has wiggle room left and right, so that you can tighten it up against the polycarbonate panel. And as you get in the next ones, you may have to shift it left or right. So we're just going to finger tighten it for now. Leave that like that. Same way with at the top. Once again, you have to put this screw just without the nut on it here, just a screw in the rod, slide it up with your finger, lift it up and bring it into this hole, put the nut on it, finger tighten it. We're good to go. We're going to install a few more. We have this cool feature here. This is going to be like an opening window or air vent, and we'll see how that incorporates in the roof structure as we add in the other pieces. But everything is coming together well. It's definitely getting more secure the more that we get the frame completed. I'm very impressed with the frame. Is aluminum, so you're never gonna have to worry about rust, and it's fairly strong and sturdy, so we just have to figure out how to anchor it to the ground as well. So another important thing to note when assembling this particular greenhouse is that the roof panels, they come in from the side, and you actually need a pretty good clearance to be able to line them up and push them in. So you really cannot assemble this greenhouse like within 2 feet of a brick wall or something where you wouldn't have enough access to be away from it to line up the panels and then slide them in. So just heads up on that. Hey, I've just put this outer rain gutter on the greenhouse. It has a downspout. We can attach a hose to it if we like and collect the rainwater. You can see it's basically a little aluminum rain gutter. It serves the other purpose of securing all the top polycarbonate panels all the way across. Really locks in the frame real well. Now the 2 pieces are joined by this little plastic piece, which kind of allows some water to flow, but it's not the most attractive design for joining those, but and it was also quite difficult to wedge these metal pieces into this plastic piece. Boy, that was about a 15-minute job right there. Well, we have completed our greenhouse. It probably took me 4 to 5 hours. I'm not as quick as some folks, and but this is it. It looks good. It's strong. It has those polycarbonate panels, of course, which are good for insulation. We'll need to put a heat source in there for the winter. I was impressed with the door. It's a very simple design, but very functional. And we can just open that up and walk right inside. If we want to open up a window vent, that's easy to do. And we've got some good space in here. Maybe put some shelves, and we could definitely start really hundreds of seedlings in this space. 6 by 8 is a good space, and we'll definitely use it. It'll come in handy. So is this the world's best polycarbonate greenhouse under $500? Probably so. The aluminum frame in and of itself, it's never going to rust. It's fairly sturdy. It's going to be low maintenance for you. When you compare it to maybe things like from Harbor Freight, which are very inferior quality in workmanship, this is definitely a cut above that. It even compares favorably to a very expensive polycarbonate greenhouse that I purchased from Israel, from a company called Palrum, and it was like 5 times the price for only a little bit more space inside. So for the value that you can stand up inside, that you can put in a good amount of plants, I believe QuicTent has really hit a home run with this product. And I think there'll be a lot of gardeners happy to have this option. Now let's talk about the cons. If I had any criticisms, I was a little disappointed that there was not any extra hardware. I'm a little stickler about that. I'm thinking to myself, you know, it costs you about $0.25 to throw in an extra screw of each type or an extra nut of each type. And I'm just thankful that when I got to the end of the project, I was missing one screw, and I had to do a search all over the ground, and luckily I found where I had dropped one earlier. It's hard to believe in this day and age that they would put in the exact number of screws that you need for the assembly without throwing in a couple of extras. And then of course that little thing I mentioned earlier about the drain spout joining or coupling there could be a little more creative as well, but at the price, these are very few criticisms, and the assembly guide is really well done, so hats off to them for that.